In today's episode, I am so excited to be joined by Ryan Panchoo, the founder of Borough 22, a gluten-free and vegan donut bakery based in London.
It was an ultimatum, to be fair. Stop making this stuff and giving it away or start a business. Yeah, October 1st, 2014 is where it started. I just wanted to have something that people could get excited about. Well, my kids initially. I wanted them to get excited and their friends to get excited. And I've got a sweet tooth. Sugar is my weakness. You know, if I can't go and buy something sweet, then the next best thing is to make it yourself, right? That was the goal. I wanted to create something that didn't taste like it was gluten-free, and it looked amazing, so much so that my kids and their friends were like, I want that. You can definitely work for yourself. Business is not just what you do.
Yes.
It's more than that. There was a time where I was doing orders and
In today's episode, I am so excited to be joined by Ryan Panchoo, the founder of Borough 22, a gluten-free and vegan donut bakery based in London's 22nd borough, Royal Greenwich. I can confidently say that Ryan is a master of his craft. I am a huge fan of his donuts and have followed and eaten his work for some time. And I'm very excited for you to get to learn about him further. He exudes warmth and kindness with everything he posts on social media. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome him into this community. He is most definitely my kind of person, and I know he will be your kind of person too. So welcome to the podcast and the community, Ryan Panchoo. Welcome.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever had an introduction like that before. That has just made my head swell so much. Thank you so much.
It's recorded now, so you can play it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Play it before you enter a room.
I'm going to put it on my voicemail as well. That's going to be the record.
You gotta hype yourself. But thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, Ryan. How are you today? How's your heart right now?
Yeah, good. So we were chatting before, weren't we? I had a delivery to Northern Ireland, and I usually send my deliveries, everything goes through DHL, but on Northern Ireland, I send it via Royal Mail. So I have to physically take it. Such a first world problem. I have to physically go down to the post office and take it there, and I forgot, but I just managed to get it in. It's going to get there tomorrow by 1:00. So it's all good. My heart rate is slowing down now back home.
Exactly. Done. And that's, you've heard it here first. The man physically goes and delivers it to Royal Mail himself.
Absolutely.
Talks about being involved. And yeah, I'm so excited to be speaking with you. Anyone who knows me closely knows what a big fan I am of Borough 22. I don't shut up about it. And I have celebrated some very special milestones with your donuts as refreshments.
Okay.
In fact, I've been struggling recently because I've been training for a marathon for charity. And so I've had to be pretty strict with my nutrition over the last few months, which has meant no donuts. But as soon as April 10th passes, I will absolutely be celebrating with a Borough 22 donut, or two, let's be real about it. Yeah. And I've even been considering whether to make a detour into London on the way home for the race. That's, again, a very first world problem, but I've been...
Oh, maybe we can make something happen and then I can meet you in the flesh. I'll be more than happy to do that.
Amazing. I love that. I've been deprived of the donuts for a few weeks. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot wait. So thank you again for your service, and welcome officially to the My Kind of People community. And I usually start the podcast by giving the listeners a little bit of insight into how we've crossed paths. Now, you've obviously only recently learned about me, but to give a little insight into how I came across you, because I've personally been following your donuts around London for quite some time now. And I think people might find it silly to be so excited by donuts. But firstly, wait until you try these donuts. They'll blow your mind. But two, I suffer from IBS symptoms, so I don't have a great relationship with gluten or dairy. Therefore, I haven't been able to eat gluten for the last decade, I think it is now. and I've been following a vegan diet for 2 years. So there's a lot of foods that I can't have. And I long decided that foods like donuts would be one of them, basically, because gluten-free products like donuts and making them vegan just doesn't exist. And then lo and behold, Ryan comes along with Borough 22 and I have access to that food again. So genuinely, thank you. It brings me so much joy. But before we learn a little bit more about your donuts and Borough 22, I'd love for the community to get to know more about you as a person, Ryan. So where have you grown and flown? Where did you grow up and where would you consider home now?
Okay, so I've always been in Southeast London. So I was born in Greenwich Hospital, which has since been knocked down and turned into like a nice new housing estate. So
Always houses.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was a mental health hospital before that. It got turned into that, and then they raised it and turned it into into a housing estate. And I've delivered to that estate actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a couple of people that live there, so I always think about that when I go back there. But always been in Southeast. Started life in Brockley. That's where the family home was, and then we moved sort of when I was at secondary school. We moved over to Catford, SC6. And then when I got married, shortly after I got married, we moved from our first home. It was still in Catford, but we moved over to Plumstead, which is back in the Royal Borough of Greenwich, and that's where I am today. So yeah, always been a South Londoner. You could probably hear it in my accent.
I love it.
Then and yeah, this is where I call home. So Plumstead is where I call home now. I love it around here. It's really, really great place to live. Like lots of green space, good access into London, and it really has helped the business to sort of grow being here.
Yeah, absolutely, especially being based in the same place as well. And where in your journey did you start to develop your passion for baking? Were you always into baking, and why was creating a gluten-free and vegan product a main focus for you?
Yeah, I've always been drawn to baking. I've got visions of going to a library in Crofton Park, getting a recipe book. I can't remember how old I was, probably 4 or 5, getting a recipe book and finding this recipe for this loaf cake. I know it had glacé cherries in it, and making it and burning it. That's my earliest memory, but that didn't turn out so well, but it didn't put me off. I've always been sort of drawn to baking. I can't remember how much I baked in the past. Things like jam tarts come to mind and stuff like that. But it was around sort of the cupcake boom. I think my baking, my passion for baking got reignited, and I've got a sweet tooth. Sugar is my weakness. So, if I can't go and buy something sweet, then the next best thing is to make it yourself, right? So, so started dabbling in that. I was always drawn to these cupcakes. They just looked amazing, and tried to sort of make my own. And it was really my family. So my family have got allergies. My wife is gluten intolerant. She was dairy intolerant. So, sort of similar to you, actually, IBS symptoms that came about after she had my son. She blames him for digestive system.
You should be thanking him then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you. If it wasn't
well for you.
Different response from mum and dad to that. And then the kids, we found out very early, when she was breastfeeding them, that they were intolerant to dairy. So she could have dairy throughout the pregnancy. She just got a craving. I remember, I think it was for cheese. It was bun and cheese, actually, it's a Jamaican delicacy.
Nice.
Bun and cheese, and she had it and she was fine. So she could eat dairy throughout the pregnancy, and then after they were born as well, and then it just switched. So breastfeeding, she's had dairy, breastfeeding, and the kids were just screaming. Both of them, they're 4 years apart, but same thing happened. I think in our desperation, we were maybe it's dairy. Let's revert back to a soya-based formula. We did, and then they were fine. So they both had a dairy intolerance at the time that I started baking. So I was making all this stuff, taking it into work. It was me and another lady at work, actually, Yasmin. So we used to bake different things, and we were intrigued about recreating I'm sure we recreated Snick's Twix bars, and
Amazing.
making our own versions of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of trend was happening at the time, but that was quite big at the time.
Yeah.
We used to bring stuff in, but then I used to make all this stuff and they couldn't eat it. And I couldn't physically eat it. I mean, I'd give it my best shot, but I couldn't physically eat it all as well. So I thought, okay, let's try and make it dairy free, which was pretty easy to do. And then my wife couldn't eat it still, so like, let's try and make it gluten free, which was so hard. So I thought it was just you could just do a straight swap, and it's just not like that at all. Well, you could, but they just looked terrible and they didn't taste very nice. Like the consistency wasn't very nice. So yeah, that's sort of what pushed me to, that sort of hit that spark really, to try and sort of experiment and try to make and adapt things to make them sort of gluten-free and dairy-free. It didn't need to be vegan at the time, but it was dairy-free definitely, to try and tick those two boxes. And just the fascination with trying to get it as close to the original as possible, because I knew what that tasted like. And to have something that they could enjoy was always the goal. And then it was just cupcakes, then it went to brownies, and then it went to donuts, and then the rest is history, as they say.
No, amazing. And I love that came from like that curiosity and love, like a genuine love for your family, and I don't want them to miss out. I love my food and I want to share sweet tooth with them. I think that's really beautiful, and something I've always admired in your products. That really comes across how much you love the products you make. And like you said, it's really hard to get right. I have like a lot of the crossover is not the same. Having a gluten-free product, a lot of it can be very flat, different textures. So you can tell that you've spent a long time mastering your product to get it right. Yeah,
absolutely. Like I used to watch like Heston, and he just fascinated me, the stuff that he produced. But I just think like this guy he's a chef, but he's actually a scientist. The way he breaks down how everything works, and it is just thinking about the science of things, like what different additives do, the chemical structure, the reactions that they have, and it's kind of like a bit nerdy but interesting, fun, and just to see like the results you can get from tweaking stuff that people weren't doing at the time. And what it produced was kind of exciting. I don't want to sound like really sad, but it did.
You don't. No, it is. It's great. You're the Willy Wonka of Greenwich. That's my title for you.
I'll take that.
Please do. And as we previously mentioned, you are the founder of Borough 22. That's the company you made with your donuts. Please, could you tell us a little more about when this was founded? I know you talked a little bit about how, and what do you hope your products contribute to the world?
Yeah, so it was founded in October 2014. I remember making the decision in September, right? October the 1st, let me order some business cards, which I've still got to this day. I don't think I've given out more than 10.
Me too.
So I've got 990 business cards somewhere around. Designed it all on like my iPad. I was so pleased. And yeah, October 1st, 2014 is where it started. And I just wanted to have something that people could get excited about. Well, my kids initially, I wanted them to get excited and their friends to get excited. Because, you'd be the scenario, you go to like a party and you'd have to take your own little packed lunch for your kids. Like they can't have this stuff.
29.
Yeah, exactly. that kid that came with his own little packed lunchbox or her own little packed lunchbox, separate cakes. I was just like, man, why is there no one doing anything that is like exciting? Like, why isn't there a Krispy Kreme or like a Dunkin' Donut that they can eat? Like, why is no one doing that? So that was the goal. I wanted to create something that didn't taste like it was gluten-free, like the kind of wet, sandy consistency, or take all the moisture out of your mouth. And it looked amazing, so much so that my kids and their friends were like, I want that. That's what I want. And they could get excited about. And it was like how going out to eat or just out in general, popping into like coffee shops or whatever with the family and my wife. It's just always, I'd see her get so excited about the potential of these products that happen to be gluten-free and vegan, that she could eat. And then just the disappointment, like you pay a premium for it and the disappointment. So I wanted to sort of fulfill that Like what you see with your eyes, you're fulfilling that with the taste as well, the
Awesome.
experience. So that was always the goal. And as I say, it wasn't, I didn't plan to sell it. I was just doing it for them initially. But the ingredients were expensive. They could never eat everything that I make because I'd make them in quite big batches. They were starting to like not fit into their clothes, getting size and stuff. So it's like, no, let's pump the brakes here.
Yeah.
Let's turn it. And she already had a business that she was running. She was like, no, you can do this. Like, turn it into start selling it, get it out to people. I would pay a premium for this. My sister-in-law, who had similar allergies, so my wife is more intolerant to dairy than gluten. My sister-in-law is more intolerant to gluten than dairy. They were both like, no, I would pay a premium for this. Like, nobody's doing it. Just sell it, which is easier said than done, admittedly. But that's sort of the reason why I thought, right, let's get it out. And that was always my mission. It's not to capitalize and make all this money from the people that are affected by sort of allergies and different types of foods, but really just to get something out to make them happy, make them feel good.
Yeah, and that you do, my friend, that you do. And so hopefully you know by now how much of a huge fangirl I am of your work. The donuts are accessible, they taste incredible. I get so excited every time you come up with a new flavor. I think it's the new one, like an apricot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've been watching that one like a hawk.
It is good.
I'm excited. So you've certainly inspired me with your work and your work ethic, but are there any people that have inspired you on either your life journey or whether you've had someone who's inspired you in the baking world?
Yeah, definitely. So I have to say my wife first and foremost. Like, she's just one of those people who is just very, very disciplined. And she started working for herself, I think, a couple of years before I launched the business. And just to have that drive, she's quite methodical. She's one of those people who would do a course and like you get like stuff to do at the end of the course for that particular week. She'd just do it. She'd just sit down and do it little by little. And in like after like 6 weeks, say she's made all this progress just because she's done exactly what she's been told to do. But she's the one that sort of gave me it was an ultimatum, to be fair. Like, stop making this stuff and giving it away, or start a business. But it was good. It was the push that I needed. So definitely she's been an inspiration. And then in the baking world, like Heston, definitely, I just love the science of it all.
Yeah.
Seeing it come together. At the time, a lady named Bevo, so she runs or ran a bakery. I think it's still in existence, actually. It's called Bees of Bloomsbury. And I was just fascinated by her brownies. She made cupcakes as well, but her brownies were insane. I don't know how she managed to get them the way she did. And she's released a cookbook, so I know the recipe now, and they're ridiculous. So she was definitely an inspiration. Like when I first started. I think those two in the main. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but definitely they were the ones that were like sort of driving me forward. Like definitely Medica to set up the business and get it all up and running and have the confidence to do that. And not be like afraid. I mean, everything has been a challenge. I've been afraid to do every single step.
Sure.
But definitely it's been like my sort of cheerleader. And then B, just to nail that quality. Like I say, those brownies are it's the best brownie recipe I've ever come across to this day. But to nail that feeling of like getting those brownies and eating them, to nail it, that sort of inspired me, definitely.
Yeah, and I love that. It's so important to have cheerleaders and inspirations as well. And there is so much excitement when you taste a food and you're just like, wow, you want to know more about it. It's really powerful. And you were talking about a few of the challenges of having a business, and now being a small business owner myself, I have the utmost respect for anyone who works for themselves. And I find them often to be the bravest and most inspiring leaders I know, as it takes so much commitment and courage to work for yourself and to create your own products. What has the experience of being a small business owner been for you so far? And do you think there are any misconceptions that people might have around being self-employed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's kind of mixed. I guess it depends on what day you ask
Yeah, I can relate.
what the answer will be. So I definitely feel that you need a little bit of naivety.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you'd never do anything. It is really, really difficult. But I also feel that, well, definitely for me, just working for someone for, since I was 16 up until I left work, it institutionalizes you. And you feel like, right, this is what I do. I go up and I work for someone, I earn a salary, try and get up that career ladder. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You don't need to earn as much as you think you need in order to, have a decent type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you can definitely work for yourself. Absolutely. It is tough. It is hard, but I feel like the flexibility that comes with it, knowing that the amount of effort that you're putting in is coming back to you 100%.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for somebody else. I mean, there was times in my old job where I'd work through the night, or you'd stay up, you work on the weekends just to get like a little pat on the head at the end of the year, or like a bonus. I remember I worked on like this I can't say who, obviously, but I worked on this project, and it saved the company like maybe like 11 million pounds. And
Wow.
like the bonus I got at the end of that, I mean, it was a good bonus in terms of like the life of the business, but it was nothing compared to that. And it's like, you just think, like, you just start to, well, for me, it just started to be like, well, this isn't really fair. It isn't really fair. There's no, it's not a good correlation in terms of the amount of effort put in and how you're being rewarded for. But with your own business, you get to control that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It definitely is hard. Sorry, just remind me what the question was again.
So I was saying about, like, do you think there are any misconceptions that people have around being self-employed, and just your general experience of it so far? So you've been answering the question perfectly.
Okay, so misconceptions around being self-employed.
I found this one interesting because I've been fully I left my full-time work in officially in September last year. And again, like you, realizing I loved what I did, but I was like, I'm putting so much time and hours, to almost the detriment of my own health, into this business. And it's not even my own. So what could happen? What could I create if I put that passion into myself and what I love? It is interesting, people's conceptions, because they're like, oh, self-employed, how wonderful. You've got all of these hours to yourself. And I'm like, actually, I'd say it's that most hours I've worked and the hardest I've ever worked. The difference is that I absolutely love it, and I'm in control of it.
Absolutely. It's not a 9 to 5. It's completely the opposite of that. And you find yourself working like all the hours. There have been points where I've been like, no, like I need to sort of cut it off now. And I have like set hours. So I'm trying not to work on the weekends. But I think you work harder. And I remember when I was working and I was doing this sort of on the side, I worked even harder. I probably was working harder than anybody in the office, because I didn't want anyone to turn around and say, well, what you're doing as a hobby is affecting your day-to-day work. And people knew at work what I was doing. They knew I was in Selfridges at that point as well. So there was, I think some people were like not happy about it, which I never understood, because it's like, I'm not employed 24 hours a day. Like I've got a life outside and I can do what I want with that kind of. But you do work harder. And then when I went full-time, I worked even harder. Even harder. But then, like I said, you reap 100% of the rewards of that, of the benefit of that. And to do that by yourself, to generate that by yourself is very, very rewarding. And just like, I've got a young family, well, they're not so young anymore, but the flexibility, being able to drop them to school, being home when they get home from school, being there, being able to have like our dinner together as a family, like every single day, and just being there to be like the biggest influence on their life. which is another one of the reasons. Like I worked part-time before, but just being able to do that, I think is a blessing. But yeah, I don't know necessarily how people view. I always thought working for yourself is a lot of stress, a lot of hassle. And I guess they're not wrong. But it's not like an easy life, but it can be very rewarding, I think.
100%. And very empowering to be like, at the end of the day, there's no one else to blame. It's all on you, right? There's people can look at that like from a scarcity mindset, or they look at that from a growth mindset of like, I have complete control. And like you say, the work you put in is definitely the work you get back out. And I think it also teaches you to be more comfortable with being uncomfortable as well, right? No one telling you what to do. So you have to really sit and think, what are my values? You know, how can I work smarter? A lot of the time people think it's working harder, but being smarter, like you say, so you can have that flexibility with your family.
That's my wife's favorite phrase: work smarter, not harder.
Yes, my kind of person too. I love it. And this might be a big question, but how much time do you think you've personally dedicated to your own passion? What has it taken for you to reach the level of craftsmanship that you're currently at?
I spent a lot of time, and I can see that where I've employed people, and it's you're trying to teach them. Like, to me, it's just so simple. The recipe is simple, everything is simple, but when you try and teach that to someone from scratch, you then start to realize actually how good you are at what you do. And the reason the things you do just subconsciously, like you don't even think about it, because you know, like if you don't do this now, or if you do this if you don't do it this way, it's going to affect you like 2 or 3 steps down the line or whatever. And it's just like, no, you just do it subconsciously. And that comes from just hard graft, like man hours, putting in the graft, doing the same thing over like repeatedly, and just tweaking it every single time, like to get it to a point. Even stuff like just piping the donuts into the molds. Like I've been filming it. I've been trying to like get on Instagram Reels and do more on film.
You've been on it. I was like, okay.
Just like, it's just like I've figured out how to do it on my phone now. So it's trying to do more. But even just like looking back and watching how, you know, you pipe the donut, the batter into the molds and stuff, like the little flick of the wrist at the end, just to like finish it off. And it's all stuff I don't think about, but it's only, I wasn't doing that the first time I was putting it in, and you can see, I've actually got pictures. You can see like where I've tried to like get a toothpick and like spread the batter around so it goes. It's just like, whoa. I was putting it in with a spatula or a spoon. I wasn't even piping it. And like a customer, one of my very early customers, she was in another, she actually ordered years later as a corporate order, a really big corporate order. And she sent me a picture of the donuts, the post that she put, and they were shocking. How she did not get diabetes. The amount of glaze I put on these donuts is just like, I was like, what? It's like, you paid me for that. But yeah, it's
like some donut with that glaze.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, wow. But to see, and you forget, I think that's another thing with running a small business. Sometimes you forget to stop and look back and see how far you've come, because you're always like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing.
Yes.
And even stop to maybe just, I don't know, not necessarily get feedback, but just to talk to people. Because even with Selfridges or any of the stores that I deliver, it's sort of drop and then on to the next.
Yeah.
Really stand still and absorb it. You will get, I do get times where I'm able to do that, and I really appreciate it. It really does help. Like your mindset reassures you. That's like you're saying well done to yourself. But yeah, it's years. Like the business will be 8 this October.
Wow.
And I just think back to how many hours like I have been, because I've only really taken on staff probably in total for the last 2.5 years. It hasn't been that, it's been at different stages, little bits here and there.
Yeah.
But in total, if you could push it all together probably for about 2.5 years. So of the 7.5 years, like 5 years has just been purely just me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's well, 5 years. I guess we could say 5 years.
Yeah. What a journey. And I love what you said about the importance of stopping to pause and appreciate sometimes. And I think that is really, really important. Especially, I think these days we live very much in a very quick culture, instant
Yeah,
gratification. And that's why I
absolutely.
love to ask that question, especially to small business owners, because I think so many people, especially with social media now, you're often viewing people's as the finished product and where they are now, and
Mm,
you don't see the journey of where they started. And a lot of
yeah,
people aren't fantastic when they first start,
yeah,
or they might have a flair for something, but like you say, even the little things like the flick of the wrist and all of these tiny details, that really, it's the small, like sweat the small stuff
yeah,
kind of thing.
absolutely. And I do have a problem with that actually on social media. You're just most of the time you're seeing the best versions of people, and like you say, that the finished article, or them really advancing their journey, and that's why they've become people are fascinated, because they're really good at what they do, but
Yeah.
you don't see all the mistakes that have happened. And yeah, I'm just conscious of that. So even like on Instagram, like there was a time where I was doing orders and I just stacked the whole lot. I just dropped it. I got to the front door. I've been baking probably from about 10 o'clock Friday night through to Saturday morning,
Yeah.
gathered everything to take it out, 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. And I just tipped it and I lost almost everything.
Oh my God.
But then now I just thought, no, I'll just put it on social media, because I've got to explain
Yeah.
why people aren't going to get their donuts. And that's one of the most engaged posts that I've ever had, if not the most engagement I've had on a post. But yeah, you do see, even I just think like albums, like back in the day,
Yeah.
well, I'm 40, like 42, 43 this year. So back in the day, you'd have a single, maybe the single would have remixes, they would all chart, then you get another single, and then maybe the album would drop, and then you'd have like a singles off the album, and that would
Yeah.
keep going. Now it's just
Mhm.
like Ed Sheeran's dropped an album. Did he drop it this year? I don't know, or late last
Yeah.
year? And it just gets consumed, all 12 tracks or whatever. And it's like you don't really hear nothing about it anymore. He's off touring. So that's he's sort of getting his income from that.
Yeah.
But it's just people just consume things so quickly. So it's important. Definitely
Yeah.
have to stop.
Really important. It's something I talk about a lot. I have a lot of artists in my circle, and we talk about that with streaming services, and especially music. In fact, I've even had this exact conversation about music this week.
Mm,
Of even when I was younger, you'd have a record and then there was tapes and CDs, but the joy of actually listening to a whole album, and also even the effort to go and get it. You would save your
yeah,
money up, you'd have to go
yeah,
to a store, physically buy it, you take it home, unwrap it, enjoy it. Whereas now you can get music in seconds, and with streaming, it's practically free,
yeah, yeah,
and it's just one single to the next single. And you miss that whole storytelling of an
mhm,
album. And I think on social media, that's it. Actually, it's kind of just appeared in my head. You miss the storytelling aspect of a
yeah,
lot of stuff and where people have been in
yeah,
their journey. So I always appreciate you keeping it real on
yeah,
social media, and I think it's so important. Like people aren't a finished product. It's taken a lot of time and a lot
yeah,
of willingness to have that delayed gratification of, I'm going to keep working at it to get better at what I do, and
yeah.
not be scared of failing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, failings, it's just a way to educate yourself. Really.
Exactly. It's how we learn to do better. So I have so much respect for you. And as I said, I'm there with you in making my own business work, and it's genuinely the most rewarding work I've ever done. But I've also not worked so many hours in my life. So, from your experience so far, do you have any specific advice that you could give to anyone who's looking to make a start in running their own business, whether that's a bakery or another business? Was there anything you'd wished you'd known before starting, or maybe some great
Yeah,
advice you got?
yeah, definitely. Just have a look at how a business is set up, because I think most people, especially in my position, it was like, I know how to make this thing. It's great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get it out there. But that's probably going to be like maybe 40% of your time spent dedicated to making that one great thing. The rest of your time is going to be raising invoices or doing your marketing, doing your social media, all these other elements that make up every single business probably on this planet today. So learn about those, see what's available out there. Like, you've got different apps you can use for accounting, for example, to make that easy. Just things like even receipts. Like, I go shopping all the time to get ingredients, but just having the ability to snap a picture of my receipt and upload that to my accounting software, that saves me like a couple of hours at the end of the month having to go through all my receipts, my expenses. Being able to generate invoices that repeat from the last invoice, for example, that saves me like 10 minutes for every customer that I'm having to do that for. So really try and understand how a business works, like all the different hats you have to wear as a business person.
Yeah.
Literally, you're going to be wearing all of them. But if you can get like the small stuff out the way and hand it off to people, then you can focus more on your craft, on like what you enjoy doing, why you started a business in the first place. So that's probably like the thing I wish I'd known.
Yeah.
I've kind of like stumbled my way through.
As we all do, but that's great advice.
Yeah. But I think like when I speak to my children, my daughter's like almost 16 now. That's what the conversations we're having. That's how I'm trying to educate her. You know, I wanted to go and do work experience, maybe even work for a company.
Yeah.
And find out how a company works. She missed out on work experience because of COVID, unfortunately.
That's a shame. Yeah.
But there's a couple of companies that I've reached out that, you know, I've been in contact with, who can give her a placement. And I think that's the best thing for her.
100%.
Is to learn. And then there's no reason why you can't do it yourself from a young age. There's no reason why you have to go on that career path journey.
Yeah.
Do it. There's plenty of work out there. But yeah, if someone is starting a business, I would say the business is not just what you do.
Yes.
It's more than that. Perhaps proportionately more than that. So learn all that first, get that down, get as much help as you can, if you can, through apps or through, you know, friends or whatever. And then it will just make running that business a little bit more easy to start with.
Yeah, fantastic advice. Yeah, and I think it's really important to know every part of your business as well at the start. It really makes you appreciate it more. It's empowering. If something doesn't work one day, you're able to fix it. And then it also shows you what parts do I actually really love, and that wouldn't be the same if I wasn't doing it, and what parts could I get help with, like you said. And it's also really important to know when you need help. It could be quite easy to be like, no, this is mine, I must do everything. But it's coming back to that, you know, being able to work smarter. And actually, if you could get a little bit of help here, could you be spending so much more time on the thing that you're passionate about?
Yeah, exactly.
Really important. I love that you are instilling that in your daughter as well. And I think work experience is so important. And that's something we kind of covered in both this question and the last one, is that the power of conversation.
Yeah.
That's something I've had to really work with, because social media, I use it a lot for my business, but I'm not a big fan of it. It felt like a very inauthentic space to me. So I've been really exploring how to make that more authentic.
Yeah.
And social media should be used for its purpose, which should be socializing, right? So the power of having conversations. And I love the fact that you're really encouraging your daughter to go into work placements, because that's where you have conversations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just giving her that focus. Because there is a lot of noise out there. It's being able to see through the noise that is social media. And really, there's no reason why it can't be beneficial to you. And there's no reason why you can't attract the right people as well. You know, lots of people may not be interested because they use it for a certain purpose. But if you are true to yourself, you know what your values are, and you stick to them, then you'll attract the right people, and you'll have those conversations. They're definitely there to be had. So it's just trying to instill that in her as a 15/16-year-old girl.
Mhm. I think you're, by the sounds of it, you're doing a great job. It's very inspiring, very inspiring. And one of the things I have grown to love the most about you as a person, Ryan, from what I've seen, is how much you champion other small business owners with your actions and on social media. You come across as a very collaborative person. And that, for me, like we've just been saying, is what life is about creating value, making an impact, connecting with others, being in community with others, and championing each other. I think it's so important to lift each other up. And you genuinely seem to be the champion of champions. What I've witnessed, you definitely lead with kindness, and you really seem to have created a very beautiful community around you. So I wanted to ask you a few questions regarding community, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Um, what does community mean to you, and has your idea of community changed over the years, and how do you continue to try and cultivate that?
I don't think it's changed over the years. I mean, community, I see community as um, just people like coexisting together.
Mhm.
If you can help someone out, like I'm looking outside out my window because I'm thinking of like the community that is around here, like on my road.
Mhm.
Like my next door neighbor, he's 70-year-old English guy. Like we're from two different worlds, but he's like my dad, and he
Mhm.
views me as like his son. The
Cool.
people across the road, I don't want to say any names, but the people across, like it's in terms of like delivery, if anything gets delivered, I know that I could go 10 houses across the road that way, 10 houses across the road that way, 10 up this way or 10 behind me, and any of them will take it in. It's fine. It's not a problem. So just helping people out, leading with kindness, being generous, um, and just, yeah, that I think that builds such a nice community. And then I've just tried to do the same like online. So it's people that I admire because I know how hard it is. I
Yeah.
know what grind is like, right? So
Mhm.
if someone is producing a product that I think is amazing, and it has to be organic, I'm not going to be, I don't want to be fake about it. If someone's producing a product that's amazing, even if I don't use it, like in my donuts, for example,
Mhm.
just something for personal consumption,
Yeah.
then I'm going to promote that. I
Yeah.
will shout from the rooftops like, this is amazing. You need to get this person's product in your stores. And it's always been genuine. I've been in situations where it hasn't been genuine, where it's been
Mhm.
like maybe some kind of sponsorship, and I just did not like it at all.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't like it at all. It didn't feel right. I felt horrible doing it. And I was just questioning myself the whole time, like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
So I've really just completely turned my back on all of that, because you do get people like approaching you like to try and do stuff
Yeah.
not genuine if it's not 100%. And if I don't believe in it myself, then I'm not going to be a part of it. And there's been like, I've been a few opportunities that could have been like really big, like quite lucrative,
Yeah.
but it's like I don't see, I don't believe in this. I don't,
Yeah.
this is not for me. I don't like this, or so it's being able to turn away from that, and then just creating a community of sort of, well, it doesn't even have to be like-minded people. It's
Mm.
just
Respect
uh,
for each other.
yeah, respect, kindness, generosity, and those things don't cost anything, but they mean everything to people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Um, and it's a shame because there is a lot of capitalism, a lot of people who are, I'm trying to think of the word for not genuine, uh, but
Fake.
yeah, fake, not necessarily a fake, like not like completely like backstabbing fake, but just not genuine. There's like an alternate ulterior motive,
Yeah.
and that's their goal. That's what they see. It's not about the journey or anything like that. They just want to get to their goal to fulfill what they want or what they want to get out of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So it's trying to sort of stay away from that and just be genuine, show love, show kindness, and build that community of people that you believe in.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, that's made my heart so happy hearing that, genuinely. Yeah. And I think it's so important. I think a lot of people can come from a scarcity mindset, right? Of that there's not enough resources, there's not enough love in the world. So I've got to focus on me and getting as much as possible for me. But one of my favorite phrases in life is Ubuntu, which is the translation of I am because we are. And it's the idea that, you know, we all need each other. We're only as good as each other. And I think when you come from that growth mindset and you come from a place of purpose and knowing your values, that comes back to you tenfold. I genuinely believe that. And it's not easy, especially when you work for yourself and you have these offers, you know, and you need to be able to financially support yourself. So I can absolutely see and respect why people need sponsorship offers and things like that. It takes, that's a not to be like underappreciated, turning away some of those things. But I think that genuineness of wanting to work with people and support people and talk about things that mean something to you, that comes across to your audience, and that builds that trust, which trust is can take a long time to build and seconds to lose, right? And I have a lot of respect for you for that, and it shows in your work and in your business that you genuinely love and care about not only what you produce, but also the people you champion and the people you surround yourself with. I think that's really important.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And it's I guess the length of time I've been in business now, it's really easy to spot, because there's loads of people who I don't know, it's almost like crabs in a bucket kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
It may not be their intention,
yeah,
but it's their actions, they manifest that kind of spirit. So I'm just drawn to people that work hard, that produce like amazing products, that work really, really hard, and dedicate themselves to their crafts. And I think that shows. It's like anything, like, you know, there's a quote from a song. It's a J. Cole song, but he quotes an NBA basketball player, and he says that, you know, we just wanted our opportunity. Now I'm here to work hard. I'm not here to sort of play any games. And, you know, a lot of the problems that people may throw your way, they're addressed like long before those problems come up in the sort of dedication to your craft, what you put in, your conditioning, your training. And there's people out there who are just doing that. They're head down doing that. They're not shouting, hey, look at me.
No.
They're head down, getting on with it and knocking out this incredible stuff or doing these incredible things. And for me, like, they're really easy to spot now.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, yeah, I'll shout you. And if we align, if something comes off of it, all good. If not, I'm just happy to know you, happy to be around you, happy to have you in my circle. It's all good.
Yes. Love that. Love it. And it comes across for sure. And before the podcast, we were talking a little bit about this, because when I first came across Borough 22, you were just selling your products in little independent stores like Timber Yard. That was a local London coffee shop I used to always support. I don't think they're there anymore, which I'm gutted about. But Borough 22 is now very much grown since then. You're in big stores like Selfridges, but you also now sell online, which, although I'm all about the independent stores, I have been hugely excited and benefited from your online service, considering I live just outside of London. But what has it been like transitioning to going online and using social media platforms to help share your work? And how do you think you've managed to keep that sense of community that you first built when you're actually physically in these smaller stores?
I think the sense of community is just always being honest, like, with people. Like, I'm not a business person. I have made a lot of the decisions that I've made, or where I'm at now, is through like mistakes that I've made. But just being transparent with people. Like, I don't know the way the world is going to go. I don't know that, you know, we're going into a global pandemic. I don't know what the next year is going to look like, you know, with all the craziness that's happening. But this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. And just keeping people involved. So I think that's always kept its sense of community, the community that we've built in stores. I'm very much interactive with people on social media as well. So if anyone direct messages me, I send voice notes. I don't type. Because I love at Baker's Fun. I send voice notes. So I'll send a voice note, and people like genuinely, oh, I didn't expect to get a voice note from you. Yeah. I don't know if that's how people perceive like Borough 22 as a, you know, a big company, but no, I love that. Interactions are what keep me going. Yeah, I mean, the goal was always get the product to the people. So I remember when I first started, I'd done these donut rallies. It was only two. Ill-fated donut rally. I say ill-fated. People benefit from them. They got donuts,
Yeah,
but it was
exactly. Can't complain. Yeah,
man, it was so. I mean, I'm Caribbean. Like my family's from the Caribbean. It's laid back. It's the stigma we have, but it's true. And like my first drop it was supposed to be down the M4. It's the Bristol Donut Rally. It's supposed to be down the M4 to Bristol. First drop was supposed to be in Reading at like 10, and I left my house at like 9:30. I mean, it was a bank holiday Sunday, but I left my house at 9:30.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. I can't even say I'll be with you in 10 minutes. It's like, it's just, there's no way on God's green earth that I'm going to be there anywhere near that time. So I did that, but it was all about meeting people. And it is something that people still talk about to this day. Customers that I have that were on that rally that I met in person. And that to me is invaluable. But it was always about how can we get this product to people. So yeah, I was selling. Selfridges was actually the first shop I sold to.
Really? Good on you. I didn't know it was that way around.
Yeah. And that's sort of what opened the doors to all the others. I was really nervous about going and just, I didn't like to promote myself, as odd as that may seem. But it would always be like, here's some donuts to try. If you like them, you like them. Let me know, kind of thing. Is really, really bad. I'm not too bad. I'm not as bad as that still, but yeah, Selfridges was the first. And it was always right. I used to deliver to people in London. I used to sell only in London, but I used to take them and deliver them, which was long. Like maybe 10 orders, but it would take me all day. I would be exhausted. Like I didn't eat that day because I was rushing from here to there. Just communicating with people. I'll be there in half an hour. It's just long. So it's like, well, how can we get them to people? Let's try mail order. It's a delicate product. It's a short shelf life. How can we do it? And I've been through like everything. I've had pictures of donuts that have been absolutely ruined. And it's just like every iteration of changing the design, the packaging. But now, which is like the best we've ever been. It's not 100% perfect, but it's the best that we've ever been able to achieve. I've been looking into like bespoke designs, but then you're talking like astronomical figures to do that. So it's hopefully we'll get there, but not at this stage. So yeah, it was always about how can we get it to people. So set it up, that was working. The shops were predominantly my sort of main my main access point to people, like these communities around the shops as well, which I loved. And then my relationships with all the shop owners, which was amazing. And then I used to deliver on one day, but when COVID hit, everything started shutting down, and then Selfridges shut down. It was like, okay, we need to pivot, which we kind of did. Well, we didn't actually. We still had one day, but it's like the orders just kept coming in. Like, and in my mind, I was like burnt out at that point. I was like, right, I'm going to get a rest finally. And we'll just see what happens. But it's like, no, the orders came in. I think people were promoting us as well. And it got to a point where it's like, well, we can't physically do this on one day a week. We're going to have to pivot. So we pivoted for like 4 days. I think then we went back down to 3. We're back up to 4 days a week now. And we just sent them out. Initially, they were sent out just in our donut boxes. Then we changed to put these inserts in to try and protect them a little bit more, which works really, really well.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's always been about like how I just want people to have that experience, like I said at the start, like to taste this thing and just be like, yeah, it's worth it. It lives up to the hype kind of thing. So although it's costs like us money and we've never like pushed that price increase onto people, it's always been about getting the product to them, getting it to them in the best way possible. So yeah, just pivoting. We did like what was it? What did I call it? Lucky Dip 6 or something like that. I can't remember now. Where it was like a reduced cost, but you just got what you got basically. You just got 6 donuts. And that sort of started because I had a massive order that was going to Selfridges. It's like almost 1,000 donuts, I think. And then they shut down. I was like, what am I going to do with? And I was like, okay, let's just see if we can sell them. And they all went like within an hour. Every single one was bought. So yeah, it's just like I guess you're in this situation, you're not being able to leave your house, you're not being able to go to work. It's just you're going to try and find excitement other things, really just stuff to pass the day. And I guess that's what was happening with us. Yeah, and that's sort of how, and just using social media. Like I was active on social media, posting every day, updating people, and just bringing people along with the journey. So what my everyday was became everybody's everyday. And I guess people felt like they were a part of it. And then just people promoting us, word of mouth, more people ordering for people ordering to sort of bribe their kids to do their homework or attend Zoom school or whatever. It just went crazy, absolutely crazy. But if we weren't able to pivot like that, if we didn't have systems in place, then we would have been stuffed.
And systems are so important, I think, for any business owner. Like we were saying earlier about starting out, to focus on creating some really solid systems, because that's going to help out massively. And I think the pandemic, as awful as it's been, one incredible thing to see from it is the amount of innovation has been incredible from people having to be creative. I mean, I come from the fitness industry, and personal training is very personal. And overnight we had to work out, well, how do you do that? And for a few years later, where so much is now online, it's crazy to think that's only really the last 2 years. That whole industry's changed. And I love that you are such a community person, not only physically being in these smaller stores, but it shows you translate that to online and have those conversations online, and you really do lead on that, and it's lovely to see. And how do you hope Borough 22 will continue to evolve in the future? I'm dying to know, there are more flavors on the horizon, although I love the ones that are already there.
There's always going to be more flavors, I think, definitely. So we're working closely with Selfridges to develop more flavors. We did have a chat with, I'm just going to say it, we had a chat with Ricardo. So they sent us an email, and they're interested in stocking us as well. Amazing. So at the moment, I'm sort of working towards building my own kitchen. It's in my garden. It's 3/4 of the way there. So we're trying to build that, get that up and running, so that we can. At the moment, it's in my domestic kitchen. It's always been in my domestic kitchen. They've been working around that, using all my project management skills to work around that. But it'd be nice to have a dedicated space somewhere that's sort of accredited, SALSA accredited. So that means that we can open it up then. We can work, people can work in there full time, as opposed to sort of in between, like the school runs. And we can get more product out to people. And, if we did land somewhere like Ocado and we're able to deliver across the UK, then that would be amazing. And, if in Ocado, there's links to sort of other, sort of a lot of these shopping apps and things like that as well now, which before, I'd never be able to, if Ocado came, I'd be like, no, I can't. I cannot do it. It's like, no. But now it doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me at all. Like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. So hopefully that's good news to people. I don't know what it will look like.
I'm very excited.
But we'll really try, our hardest to get everything up and running, get the SALSA accreditation. I'm having assistance with that. Get that up and running, get onto Ocado. And then it just means like anyone that comes to us. Like before, like at the start of the pandemic, actually, I had an email from Tesco's. I didn't see it.
Oh no.
It was because it was mad. Like it was mad. We were sitting on like 200 orders.
Could be that popular.
I know. I mean, I emailed her back, just apologized, connected with her, and she said, let's have talks again. But that sort of just stayed at that. Like she responded. But even that, there's no way if she said like, we want to put you in a few stores or whatever, I would have had to say no. But now I feel like I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it.
Love it.
Everything is set up. The systems are in place. If I need to replicate this somewhere else in the country to make that happen, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'll have it up and running in 2 months. So that's the plans for Borough 22.
Very exciting.
trying to get that sorted and just, yeah, getting it out to as many people as possible.
Yes. And you said you're also trying to reestablish some of those relationships you had before, right? With some of the independent stores.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back together.
Pivoting again. So
Mhm.
been in touch with the Borough, been in touch with Sandstore, Le Monde, Corner Store in Camberwell, Le Monde in Deptford, sorry, the Borough in Brockley, Sandstore in Honor Oak. And there's more, Laura's Larder in Petswood. There's more that I haven't contacted just yet. A new store in Herne Hill, Perk and White, I think it's called. And everyone's been like, yes, we want you back. We want you back, which is amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Because when I came out of all those stores, honestly, it was like breaking up with 16 people.
I bet.
It took an emotional toll on me. Like I was really, really down about it. Even though I had to do it. I couldn't physically function.
No.
But Queens of Mayfair, sorry, as well. Chuck them in as well. Queens of Mayfair. So another store in central London. So it won't just be Selfridges. So they all want us back. I'm working on sending out all the information that they need so that they can make a decision. But that's good. And I'm not even, that's probably a quarter of the people that I need to contact. I just haven't been contact with them yet. So if we can do that, that would be amazing. And just to get back into the shops, the communities, people again, people going to these destinations to pick up our products. Cannot wait.
Yeah. Me neither. This is excellent news. Excellent news. It makes me so happy. So how can we share your delicious products with more people, Ryan? How can people support your work and where can they find you?
So I am on the internet, borough22.com. So Borough as in like London Borough 22.com. I'm in the process. I'm on the cusp of changing the website to make it a lot more user-friendly. Visually, it's stunning. Don't be put off when you go to the old website. This is me talking, because I'm highly critical of myself. It is a bit clunky
now, I'll tell you, but I'm excited for it.
It is a bit clunky, but I had to do what I had to do just to get it out there and allow people to order the product. And we've had I just looked at the thing on this particular platform. We've had like over 5,000 completed orders.
Amazing. That's what imperfect action gets you, right?
Exactly. So it served its purpose, but we're moving to a new platform. But you can go in there, you can order, and everything is gluten-free and vegan. They're oven-baked donuts. They're more cakey-like texture, but everything is gluten-free and vegan on there. All the donuts are certified gluten-free as well. So they've all been lab tested to below 5 parts per million. And we also do a range that is completely low FODMAP, so it meets all the low FODMAP standards. There is low FODMAP products in there, but the amount we use is below what they recommend. We'll take you over and make it non-low FODMAP. I can't tell you what FODMAP stands for, but in my head it's like a reset diet. Some people are on it for life. Lots of people are asked to go on it just to reset, as I understand, because my wife went on it just to reset their digestive system and then slowly reintroduce foods to see which ones they react to. So that's how I understand it. But we do a range that meets the low FODMAP standards, so you can get your hands on that as well. And we ship all across the UK. Northern Ireland as well. I'll remember to go to the post office to get it to Northern Ireland.
They'll be benefiting from that soon.
Absolutely. I am trying to work out a way to send out kits that people. I've sent one to China just a couple of weeks ago. So it's a kit that you get like the donut tins. We send you the mix and get the other ingredients.
Amazing.
Scratch, because people in America, Dubai, China, Israel, all over have contacted me, and I've been really trying to do it, but with the regulations, sending out food products, anything plant-based as well.
I'm excited to see.
That's it. And then you can follow us on Instagram. That's our main thing. We don't really use Facebook. So Instagram is just @Borough22. If you want to drop me a line, it's hello@borough22.com. I rarely check Facebook, and I go in there and I'm mortified because there's people that's asked me all these questions. I have got an auto message that says email me instead. I don't check this.
Tesco's is still in his DMs.
Yeah, Tesco's is still there. If I don't reply to Tesco's, then well.
Yeah, don't take it personally. And if he has replied to you, then feel privileged.
Exactly. That's it. I hope that's boosted your day.
Oh, thank you so much for being the Willy Wonka of the donut world. And thank you for all the heart and wisdom you've shared today, Ryan. I genuinely could talk to you all day, but I know you're a very busy man. So before I let you go, in addition to the incredible wisdom you've already shared, do you have any parting words of advice that have served you well that you would like to share?
Words of advice, probably one thing that someone said to me, it was a guy from Sainsbury's actually. No, he was selling a product in Sainsbury's. He just said, if a big company, which is what I didn't do, big company comes to you, like reply straight away, like be on it straight away. Have a means that you're going to get these messages and just jump on it, because if they reply, it means they're thinking about you. And you can have a 5-minute conversation in emails back and forth in that moment. If you miss that opportunity, then it could be like weeks before they pick it up again. Don't be a Tesco loser like me on it. And don't be afraid. Like, I know we spoke about starting your own business, but you've got all the tools you need to be able to do that. Like in this day and age now, before back in the day, it probably would have taken a lot of money to get something off the ground, to get traction, to get that message out to people that you exist.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid. You've got social media. And you don't need. I did a bit of math, and there's like 65 million people in the UK when I started. I was like, if 1% of 1% of them order from me, that's 6,500 people. That's like almost £200,000 worth of revenue for that year. So you don't need everybody.
Yeah.
Speak to your people, get your message out to the people that you want to hear it, that are going to be interested in what you have to say. And use the tools around you to be able to do that. You can start. It is easy to start a business. You need the drive to keep it going, but in order to start it, you can do it. So if there's something that you're doing that you're passionate about, there's some way that you're helping people or solving a problem or doing something that's good, and you've got that passion for it, which is your luxury, do it. Start it on the side if you have to, but do it. Don't put it off.
Yes, such powerful advice. Yeah. Know your values, lead with them, and like we say, quality over quantity every time. Don't worry about how many people you're having conversations with. Just make sure that the conversations you're having are powerful, right? And you're creating value. Oh, Ryan, you are awesome. Thank you so much for your time and energy today. Thank you for creating Borough 22. If you ever need a guinea pig donut taster, I am there. I volunteer as tribute. I'm your
I mean it. If you're coming back after your run, let's make it happen. We'll get that sorted.
I'm there. I've been deprived from the donuts. I'm coming back. I'm a fan. I'm not going anywhere. Your donuts genuinely bring myself and so many other people so much joy, and I'm so grateful again that you've made such an accessible product. That's no small task, and it's clear that you love the products that you make, and you put so much work into it. So thank you for your creativity, your vision, for being the champion of champions, for leading with kindness, and thank you for being my kind of person.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And this is one of the opportunities to sort of step back and look at what you've done and just see, where you're at and the impact that it's having on people, which I can't tell you. It's worth more than money could buy in terms of value for me. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. For you to put this all together and do this as well.
Likewise, and I would be very, very proud looking back at what you created. So thank you again for your time.